The opinions expressed on this program are those of the individual and do not necessarily reflect the views of Comcast Sportsnet or its management.
Coming up on Sports Talk Live, the Rockets start their West Coast road trip with a loss in Portland, but they'll get a chance to bounce back tonight in Oakland. We'll take a look at their game against the Warriors. Plus, Peter King joins us for a look around the NFL and a preview of this weekend's high school football state semifinals. It's all on Sports Talk Live, starting right now.
When you need a three, give it to D, because he's always ready. That's the motto.
How can he knock down threes like that? Maybe if he just thought about the free throw line as a three-point line, things would be better. Hey, I'm Kevin Eschenfelder. It is good to welcome you to Sports Talk Live. This Friday edition, and a good one on the way. We got a lot to talk about, including future of the head coach at the University of Texas. We're going to talk about the Houston Texans. Bill Brown will be here to talk Houston Astros a little bit later on. But we start things off with our Twitter question. We want to find out what's on your mind. We want to know, tonight, the Houston Rockets are on the road to take on the Golden State Warriors. They got one of the best guards in the NBA. That would be Steph Curry, a guy that, you just do your best, try to slow him down a bit. They did a good job with that last Friday night. But we want to know, tweet us at CSN Houston. Who's the best option to guard Steph Curry? We'll have your responses coming up throughout the show. Last night, Rockets lose it at Portland, 111-104, and what has been the best and most surprising team in the Western Conference so far this season, the Portland Trail Blazers. And that is where we start things off by bringing in our crew on the pulse. We start at the top of the Brady Bunch box. That would be Barry Warner. Then it's Adam Wexler and Jorge Vargas, News 92 FM. Guys, let's get started. 111-104 last night. I never got the feeling, Barry Warner, that the Rockets were going to win this basketball game last night. Again, it was one of those situations you give up 68 points in the second half, but way too many offensive rebounds.
Way too many. The Rockets went small, and the kid from Texas, LaMarcus Aldridge, just dominating. Also had some help from Nicholas Batum. That was last night. Tonight, I see a much different situation. No Iguodala, who always is difficult for the Rockets, and no Jermaine O'Neal.
Wex.
They had to do a lot more to stay in that game last night. They could have gotten blown out very, very easily the way Portland was playing. And, Kelvin Sampson, the acting head coach, said something after the game about Aldridge's performance. They had to pick their poison. Either you double him and give up threes, or you go vice versa. They went with the latter, and it was just trying to single him up. Obviously, that didn't work, but they did shut down most everybody else. But realistically, Portland is just a great team. They're the best in the West, and they proved it last night.
Jorge, when you looked at that team last night, Portland was ripe for the picking. I mean, that was a game that they could very easily had lost had the Rockets played really well in last night's game.
Well, I'm of a different opinion a little bit. I thought the Rockets played pretty well. Look, it was tied 76-76, somewhere in that fourth quarter. I forget the time period. But watching that part of the game, look, the Rockets actually got good chances down the court. Their defense was decent, but they just missed shots. And then quickly it became a 10-point game. And from that point on, they battled back. But I thought it really boiled down to some missed shots, and they weren't bad opportunities to make a bucket. They just didn't make those shots. Defensively, I thought, look, LaMarcus Aldridge was just on. Sometimes when you're a great offensive player and there's good defense on you, you're going to make the shot. They didn't give him wide open. I don't think they left him alone. I thought it was solid. They were always on him. He was just on that night, and they lost. I don't think it was a bad loss for the Rockets. I thought they played pretty well, to be honest with you.
What do you mean he was on? I turned the game off midway through the second quarter. He was 1 from 8 from the floor.
But once he got going,
I know.
He got it rolling.
Barry, 31 points, 25 rebounds. He is a special talent for the Portland Trailblazers. For all the talk about them trading him away, I mean, boy, they made the right call with keeping him in Portland.
Absolutely, they made the right call by doing that, and it would have been very easy for them to say, oh, we'll unload the salary and we'll go younger. They knew what they had, and believe me, that has worked out wonderful because, as Jorge said, this is the best team in the West.
All right, here's what Kelvin Sampson had to say after the game about LaMarcus Aldridge.
I don't think I can remember seeing someone that takes so many hard, contested, fall-away jump shots and consistently makes them. I mean, he's really, really good. We got mixed up on a couple coverages, but we made pretty good adjustments off that. But, Aldridge, they made tough shots, and then they made some timely threes.
They got a deep team. They got 4 or 5 guys that can really score the basketball, can make shots. And especially when they're at home, they play really well. But, half the shots Aldrin was taking were tough fadeaways, and we got to live with those. But we just got to get better in transition. I thought Pat and Jeremy did a good job on Damian.
They just made plays down the stretch. I think they executed. They got a few loose balls, and we were always just 7 to 8 away, and we couldn't really close it.
Wex, I speak, coach speak, and I'll translate for you. What Kelvin Sampson was saying last night is, I have not in the past been happy with the defense. I thought we guarded pretty well. We just ran into a team that really made some shots when they needed to make. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think over the course of the first 5.5 minutes of the show, we've seen most of the shots that Aldridge was making last night, and you can see there's a defender in his face. He's shooting fadeaways. He's getting fouled, and the shot's still going in. So I did agree with Sampson on the way that they defended him. He was simply making, basically looked like Dirk Nowitzki with some of those followays, indefensible shots that you cannot block and cannot alter, and he kept putting them in. They did good things elsewhere. Chandler Parsons said one other thing about the Blazers, and specifically Aldridge last night, that was dead on. He said, LaMarcus Aldridge is a problem. He was a problem for the Rockets, and he's been a problem for the whole league so far this season.
Dwight Howard was a problem last night, Jorge, for the Portland Trailblazers. He had 32 and 17. I will say this for Lopez, he made him work to get those 32 points.
Well, let me tell you about. Dwight Howard, I thought was exceptional was his footwork. Whatever he's doing now, and I guess maybe some of that work with Akeem Olajuwon he's been working on has really paid off. His moves in the low post, he's never had those kind of moves before in the low post. Moving his feet, picking back and forth. His hook shots really come around. That little just drop step move he's doing now. The work he's putting in is definitely paying off. And I want to mention one other thing, the guards work on Damian Lillard. Look, that guy's an exceptional guard, and I thought they did a great job defensively against him. But Dwight Howard, I'll tell you, I thought his offensive game was exceptional last night.
Hey, what you see from Damian Lillard last night, if you don't see the Portland Trailblazers play a whole lot, that's not the Damian Lillard that the rest of the league has seen. A guy that goes out, on a regular night, goes out and gets 21 points and about 8 assists on a regular evening. Last night, I thought they did a really good job on him. Barry, last word on Dwight Howard, what you saw from him, not only in last night's game, but what he has done so far for the Houston Rockets.
He has been such a great infusion because he gives them what they have needed, that 5. But his attitude and the work ethic, and as Jorge had stated, this team has now played, a quarter of the season. Just think of what they're going to be like when Dwight and the rest of the guys really understand the defensive concept and they start getting balls to him in spots that he hasn't had during the course of his career.
Wex,
I'm really excited about the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Wex, you look at tonight, I'm not going to say it does get a little easier, and a keyword being little, not a whole lot easier, but you got to go to Golden State tonight. Take on Steph Curry. Andre Iguodala is out, so that's a little bit of a break for the Houston Rockets. But that said, this is a Golden State team. They're very good at home. Rockets really put it on them a week ago tonight.
I think they're going to try to take advantage of the fact that the Rockets worked really, really hard last night and still ended up coming up short. They gave a ton of minutes to their starters. Jeremy Lin did return, but he only played about 15 minutes. So this is about as difficult a back-to-back as you could have. You're out on the West Coast. You catch Portland on the first night, and then a Golden State team who is hungry to beat you. The rivalry seems to be budding a little bit, and the fact that they played just 1 week ago, I'm sure it will come up again tonight.
Yeah, and that's another thing, too. And I think that we're going to talk a little bit later on with the CSN Bay Area Warriors Insider coming up, and we'll get a much better idea and see if this is a bit of a blossoming rivalry. Last year, Mark Jackson took exception with the fact that the Rockets kept shooting three-pointers.
By the way, that was incredibly weak by Mark Jackson.
Yeah?
Ridiculous.
Jorge, it didn't bother you, though, did it?
No. Look, I think when, the beauty is when you start getting a lot of rivals, that means you're a pretty good team. The more rivals that the Rockets start to get, that means they're actually starting to get under people's skin. If they're not upsetting anyone, that means they're playing horrible basketball. I got to say something. I think Pat Beverly's defense is awesome, and not so much. He's a smaller guard per se, but he aggravates guys.
Yep.
That's what he does over and over. And I think tonight it's important that he aggravates Steph Curry and just get under his skin and bother him, and maybe Mark Jackson as well.
Just goes to show that you get that one guy that kind of, doesn't have to be the biggest guy on the floor to give a team a little bit of an edge. Barry, I know you want to say something.
Yeah. Everyone talks about Harden and his lack of defense. I think tonight is a night that you will see James Harden play stellar defense.
Ah, okay. There, man, that's a proclamation
ding, ding.
right there. Save the tape on that one because it doesn't happen every night, does it, Barry?
And Donatas Monteunus will make an appearance this evening, longer than 3 or 4 minutes.
On the floor, in the game, checking
Yes.
into the game. All right, very good. Not in the layup line. Okay, all right, let's transition here on the Pulse, and we do so. I guess out of the bunch, there's only one guy that went to the University of Texas. That would be Adam Wexler. Mac Brown, well, still no word yesterday at a press conference. What did he say? He says, my status has not changed. There's a big banquet going on tonight, and we don't know whether an announcement will be made or not, but as it appears, where there's smoke, there is fire. And well, they're going to either be having the dark smoke or the light smoke as to find out whether or not who's going to be the next pope or head coach at the University of Texas. Wex, how much longer is Matt going to be there?
I'm surprised he's still there today in this particular role, and I'll be surprised if he's there tomorrow. They're just going to have to figure out a way to get him to agree to step aside. It seems like he's trying to make a stand here. He doesn't have enough people that are fighting his cause. It's been 16 years, and it's been a great 16 years, but I think it's okay to say it is time. I think they're just trying to work out the exit strategy. Is he going upstairs? What kind of role will he have? It does make for a fairly awkward banquet tonight. It's supposed to be celebrating the seniors, but if his status has remained undetermined as someone is speaking about him or to him, or it's just kind of an odd situation. I do think it will be resolved in the next. I thought it would be resolved by now, but I think it will be resolved possibly even during that event.
Wex, they may be resolving it right now, walking to the event. I mean, I really think they could do that and go ahead and resolve it tonight and go ahead and make it a look. And if Mac's smart, I think he just decides and says, you know what, I got to go ahead and step down, and then make it announcement at the event and say, you know what, I love this university so much. I just think it's time for us to move on. If he keeps fighting it, they're going to have to fire him. It'll look ugly. It'll look like the university. But there's no question in my mind. They've told him, look, Mac, it's time to go. He's either got to decide he's stepping down or not. And I think one thing he may take with him is the president. I mean, if he keeps fighting as hard as he is and the president with him, trying to hold him on there, he may take some guys down with him. And I think that's going to be a bad thing for the university. But tonight's the night he needs to step up and say, you know what, it's time for me to go. I loved it. I'll still be involved, love this university, and take whatever position they offered him.
Barry, last words.
Steve Patterson will be the arbitrator with his class and his intelligence. They'll give Mac a nice little way to walk away. And I feel very confident, if I'm a Texas supporter, that Steve will help bring in the next Mac Brown. He's had a great year, but ask pro scouts. The last 8 years, Texas is synonymous with SOFT.
All right. We'll see if they bring someone in who can change that. Another guy that will change the culture was in College Station. That would be Kevin Sumlin. Wex, it appears that the deal is done and been approved by the Board of Regents of Texas A&M University. So it is a 6-year contract extension for Kevin Sumlin. A $5 million buyout if it's Sumlin that leaves before 2016. And after that, it's the flip. They flip it around. But again, this is a guy that's going to be making about $5 million a year. Kevin Sumlin has certainly turned things around at Texas A&M. My question to you is this, and I'm not a Texas A&M hater. I'm just telling you, they lost 4 games this year to really the 4 teams in the SEC that were better than they were. Do you think that I didn't see any language as well about the NFL? Do you think Kevin Sumlin is there? Does he serve out the rest of this contract?
I'm not so sure they last for the length of that contract because it does put him in there for a while. We could play a game called It's All Relative. We've talked about 2 coaches. One went 8-4. The other went 8-4. We just kicked one out the door at his own banquet, and then we gave the other guy millions. I mean, it doesn't seem to all add up there.
You know what it is, though, Adam? It's one guy who's just starting moving, and it's that whole upside thing we always talk about. They feel his upside and where he's taking the program, and on the other side, it's where he's taking the program down. That's why it's so different there.
Well, even in Sumlin's great 12-1 year, they still were not in a BCS game because it's so difficult to get there if you don't win your half of the SEC and you're not Alabama. And then this year they're 8-4. Again, like Kevin prefaced his statement with, He's not a hater, nor am I. 8-4,
you are.
but tons of credit, tons of money, and I think he's a great coach. But I do think he's there this year upcoming and next year upcoming. Let's see who quarterbacks that team and how they do, and then how hot his name is in coaching circles. I still think he'll be a pretty good commodity in the next couple.
And let's face it, the contract's all about the buyout. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. $5 million buyout for any of these big universities or an NFL team that wants to get someone out of something, it's not a big deal. It's all not the length of the contract. It's, look, how much is the buyout to get someone out of it?
Barry.
Look, I'm a big Kevin Sumlin supporter. But when, Kevin, are you going to get some guys that learn how to play defense? Yeah. You treat it like it's a disease. It was that way at the U of H. It's been that way up there at A&M. You're recruiting some of the best players. Why can't they stop guys in the opposite color jersey?
On Auburn?
Is that asking too much?
It was deja vu all over again. On Auburn's game-winning drive at College Station, at Kyle Field, they went 5 for 5 on third down conversions. It was just like what he done at the University of Houston. I get it. He's going to have much better players coming onto the defensive side, and they are very young on that side. All right, quick, anybody raise your hand if you think that Jameis Winston will not win the Heisman Trophy. Anybody? Jameis Winston's to win?
Of course he's going to win.
Okay, a landslide? I don't get it. I still think Johnny Manziel's the best player in college football. Anybody want to disagree with me on that?
No, but one quick thing. In 1974, Walter Payton got 2 votes. Archie Griffin won his second Heisman Trophy. It is a popularity contest.
That's absolutely. And last year, of course, the first freshman, and now you're going to have the second freshman the very next year. Wax, go ahead, get in on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about, I think you're right. Johnny Manziel was close. He wasn't as good as last year. Maybe he is the best player, but it is a popularity contest. He plays for the best team. They didn't lose any games. He's going to get a ton of votes. It should be much closer, but it won't be.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's about wins. And look, Johnny Manziel, we just talked about 8-4. Yep. That's not going to get you there.
Guys, we got to leave it right there. We're out of time for this segment, but stay with us. We've got plenty more to come. Nice job on the pulse. Coming up on Sports Talk Live, there's no time to rest. Kelvin Sampson and the Rockets are in Oakland to take on the Warriors tonight. He knows what they need to work on.
When we shoot 5 for 20, that's usually a byproduct of us not moving the ball. When we're moving the ball, we're getting cleaner looks from the 3. So tomorrow night, we've got to do a better job of moving the ball and making each other better.
We'll have a preview of the game from the Bay Area. Plus, later in the show, we'll go around the NFL with Peter King, including a look at the Texans head coaching search. All that and much more. Keep it here.